So you want $50,000 before you marry me?
It's normal. Ask anyone.
The text message that destroyed my marriage arrived at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, glowing like a neon sign in the darkness of our bedroom. "The show's on, babe. Can't wait for the encore at my place tonight. Chad." I stared at my wife Rena's phone, which she'd carelessly left face up on the nightstand while she showered. The water was still running, and I could hear her humming some vapid pop song she'd been obsessing over for her latest Instagram reel. "My name is Isaac. I'm 33, and I run a music production studio in downtown Austin. I thought I knew my wife. I was wrong about a lot of things. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." Rena emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel, her blonde hair dripping wet, looking like the influencer princess she'd become. 29 years old, 150,000 followers, and apparently a secret life I knew nothing about. "Morning, babe," she said, not looking at me as she grabbed her phone. I watched her face change when she saw the message notification. Just a flicker, but I caught it. "Who's Chad?" I asked casually, pretending to scroll through my own phone. "Chad? Oh, he's just this talent agent I've been working with. Nothing important." She was already typing a response, her fingers moving fast. Too fast for someone who wasn't hiding anything. I'd been married to Rena for 3 years, together for 5. We met when she was a struggling wannabe actress, and I was building my studio from nothing. Back then, she seemed different. Ambitious, sure, but not this. Not whatever she'd become since her follower count exploded and brands started throwing money at her. "Isaac, we need to talk about something," she said, sitting on the edge of our bed. Her voice had that tone, the one she used when she was about to ask for something expensive. "Shoot. I've been thinking about our future, about what we want." She paused dramatically, like she was delivering lines in one of those terrible indie films she used to audition for. "I think if we're going to make this work long term, if we're going to take the next step, I need to know you're serious about providing for us." "Providing for us? Rena, I own a successful business. We live in a downtown condo worth $500,000. What are you talking about?" She bit her lip, a gesture I used to find cute, but now recognized as manipulation. "I mean really providing. Like, if you want me to marry you, really marry you, not just this casual thing we've been doing. I need to see $50,000 in an engagement fund as proof you're committed." I blinked. $50,000? For what? "For the wedding. For our future. For showing me that I matter to you. All my friends' boyfriends have done it. It's just what people do now." I sat up straighter. "Your friends' boyfriends paid them 50 grand to get engaged?" "It's not paying me, Isaac. God, you make it sound so transactional. It's about security. It's about showing you're ready to be a real husband." The water damage in our relationship had been slow, like a leak behind the walls that you don't notice until the whole structure starts to rot. But this was the moment I realized our marriage was already over. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "So, just to be clear," I said, holding the device casually, "you want me to give you $50,000 before you'll agree to marry me?" "Isaac, stop being weird." "Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not weird, it's normal. Ask anyone." "And if I don't?" She shrugged, already losing interest in the conversation. "Then I guess we'll know where we stand." I stopped recording and immediately sent the audio file to both sets of parents, plus my best friend Des and her best friend Kiki. Then I got dressed and went to work. My studio, Reverb Records, occupies the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse in East Austin. It's my baby. Soundproofed rooms, top-tier equipment, and a client list that includes some of the biggest names in country and indie rock. I built it from nothing, and it's worth more than Rena's entire social media empire. Des was already there when I arrived, mixing a track for a band from Dallas. Desmond Rodriguez is my sound engineer, my business partner, and the only person who's never lied to me. He's 35, built like a linebacker, and has the kind of technical ear that makes musicians weep with joy. "You look like hell," he said without looking up from the mixing board. "Rena wants 50 grand to marry me." Now he looked up. "Come again?" I played him the recording. His face went through several expressions: confusion, disgust, and finally something that looked like relief. "Brother," he said, "I've been waiting 3 years to have this conversation." "What conversation?" "The one where you finally realize your wife is a gold-digging parasite who's been using you as a stepping stone since day one." Before I could respond, my phone started buzzing. First my mom, then my dad, then Rena's mother Gloria. I let them all go to voicemail. "You sent this to the parents?" Des asked. "Both sides." Savage. I respect it. The voicemails were predictable. My parents were horrified and supportive. Gloria was furious and demanding I call her immediately. But it was the text from Kiki that really caught my attention. Isaac, we need to talk. There's stuff you don't know. I called her back. Isaac? Oh my God, I can't believe she actually said that to you. You knew about this? I knew she was talking about it. All the girls have been encouraging her. They keep saying she needs to know her worth and make you prove yourself. It's been going on for months. What else has been going on for months, Kiki? A long pause. I shouldn't be the one to tell you this. Tell me what? She's been seeing someone, that agent guy, Chad. It started as just flirting, but it's gotten serious. Like, really serious. They've been planning things. My stomach dropped. What kind of things? I can't say more over the phone. Can we meet? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop downtown. I spent the rest of the morning trying to focus on work, but my mind kept wandering to that text message. The show's on, babe. What show? Kiki was waiting for me at Radio Coffee, looking nervous. She's 29 like Rena, but where my wife has become polished and fake, Kiki still has some authenticity left. They've been friends since college, but I could see the strain in her face. I'm probably destroying my friendship by telling you this, she said before I'd even sat down. Tell me anyway. Rena's been cheating on you for 6 months, with Chad Morrison, that talent agent. But it's not just cheating, Isaac. They've been planning to take over your business contacts, your client list. Chad has connections in L.A., and he's been promising to make Rena a real celebrity if she can deliver your musicians to him. The coffee in my mouth suddenly tasted like acid. My clients? She's been copying information from your phone, your computer, names, contact info, contract details. Chad's been using it to poach your artists. I thought about the 3 clients I'd lost in the past 2 months. All of them had left for a new agency in L.A., Chad Morrison's agency. There's more, Kiki continued. Tonight they're planning to humiliate you at the industry mixer downtown. Something about making you look incompetent in front of everyone, so when they announce their new venture, you'll seem like the loser ex-husband who couldn't keep up. The industry mixer. I'd forgotten about it entirely, but Rena had been talking about it for weeks. Now I understood why. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because you're a good guy, and this is disgusting. Also because I'm tired of watching my best friend turn into someone I don't recognize. The Rena I knew in college wouldn't have done this. I thanked Kiki and drove back to the studio. Des took one look at my face and locked the door behind me. What did you find out? I told him everything. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. So, what's the play? He asked. I'm going to that mixer tonight. And? I smiled for the first time all day. And I'm going to give them the show they're planning, just not the one they're expecting. The Austin Music Industry Mixer happens every month at the Driscoll Hotel, and it's where deals get made and careers get destroyed. I'd been going for 5 years, but tonight felt different. Tonight, I was walking into an ambush. I spent the afternoon preparing. First, I made copies of everything. The recording of Rena's $50,000 demand, screenshots of her text conversations with Chad that I'd found on our shared cloud account, and a detailed list of every client who'd mysteriously left my studio for Chad's L.A. agency. Des helped me set up a small recording device, the kind we use for capturing ambient sound in the studio. It was invisible once clipped inside my jacket pocket, but it would pick up every word of any conversation within 10 feet. You sure about this? Des asked as we drove downtown. They want to humiliate me in public? Fine. Let's see how they like it when the tables turn. The Driscoll's ballroom was packed with the usual crowd. Musicians, producers, agents, label executives, and hangers-on. I spotted Rena immediately. She was wearing a red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, talking animatedly to a group of industry wives. She looked beautiful and confident, like a woman who thought she held all the cards. Chad Morrison was holding court near the bar. I'd never met him in person, but I'd looked him up online after Kiki's revelation. 38 years old, slicked back hair, expensive suit, and the kind of smile that belongs on a used car salesman. He was surrounded by young musicians, probably promising them the moon. I grabbed a whiskey and started working the room, making sure to be seen by everyone who mattered. I wanted witnesses for what was about to happen. Isaac! There you are. Rena appeared at my elbow, her voice honey-sweet and completely fake. I've been looking for you everywhere. Have you? I kept my voice neutral, friendly even. I thought you'd be busy with your new talent agent friend. Something flickered in her eyes. Who told you about Chad? Nobody told me anything. I just noticed you've been texting someone named Chad a lot lately, including at 2:47 this morning. She recovered quickly, laughing like I'd made a joke. Oh, that. He's helping me with some brand partnerships. Nothing you'd be interested in. Brand partnerships that require late-night encores at his place? Now she went pale. Isaac, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the text message on your phone this morning, the one where your business partner can't wait for tonight's show. Before she could respond, Chad Morrison appeared beside us. Up close, he was shorter than I'd expected, with the kind of tan that comes from a bottle and teeth too white to be natural. You must be the husband, he said, extending a hand. Chad Morrison. I've heard so much about you. I shook his hand, squeezing just a little harder than necessary. All good things, I hope? Oh, absolutely. Rena talks about you constantly. Your little studio, your local clients. Very quaint. The condescension was thick enough to cut with a knife. This was a man who thought he was untouchable. Speaking of my studio, I said, I've been losing some clients lately. Funny thing, they all ended up with the same agency in L.A. Your agency. Chad's smile never wavered. The music business is competitive, Isaac. Sometimes artists outgrow their current situation and need to level up. Nothing personal. Level up, right. I pulled out my phone and pretended to check a message. Well, I hope they're happy with their new representation. Though I have to say, it's interesting how they all had the same information about breaking their contracts. Almost like someone gave them a playbook. Rena's hand found Chad's arm. Isaac, you're being paranoid. People talk. Word gets around. Word gets around, I repeated. Is that what we're calling it? A small crowd had started to gather around us. In the music business, everyone loves drama, especially when it's happening to someone else. I recognized several label executives, a few prominent musicians, and at least 3 music journalists. You know what? Chad said, his voice getting louder. I think we should clear the air here. Rena, why don't you tell your husband about our conversation yesterday? Rena looked like a deer caught in headlights. Chad, I don't think... No, it's fine, he continued. Isaac deserves to know the truth. Rena's been working with me on a new venture. We're starting a management company that focuses on taking artists to the next level, something beyond what a small local studio can offer. The crowd was definitely listening now. I saw phones coming out, people positioning themselves to record whatever was about to happen. A management company, I said, using my client list as your starting roster. Your former client list, Chad corrected, and only the ones smart enough to recognize a better opportunity. That's when I played my first card. Interesting business model, I said, pulling up the audio recording on my phone. I'm curious, is corporate espionage part of your standard operating procedure, or is that just a bonus service you provide? I hit play. Rena's voice filled the air, crystal clear. I need to see $50,000 in an engagement fund. As proof you're committed. It's not paying me, Isaac. God, you make it sound so transactional. The crowd went silent. Then the whispers started. Rena's face went through several colors before settling on a shade of red that matched her dress. Isaac, you recorded me? In our bedroom? I recorded a business negotiation, I replied calmly, which, according to you, is what our marriage has become. Chad tried to recover. Look, everyone has relationship issues. Oh, we're just getting started, I interrupted. I pulled up the screenshots I'd prepared. See, the thing about shared cloud accounts is that they share everything, including text messages. I started reading from my phone, loud enough for everyone to hear. Chad to Rena, yesterday at 3 p.m. Got 3 more of his artists interested. Your husband really doesn't pay attention to his business, does he? Rena to Chad. He's too busy playing with his toys to notice. We'll have his entire roster by Christmas. The whispers turned into murmurs. I saw several of my current clients in the crowd, their faces ranging from shocked to angry. And this one's my personal favorite, I continued. Chad to Rena, last week. Once we destroy his reputation at the mixer, you can file for divorce and claim half his assets. Then we'll have the clients, the money, and each other. Now the crowd was buzzing. Phones were definitely recording. This would be all over social media within the hour. Rena tried to grab my phone. Stop it! You're taking those out of context. What context makes corporate espionage and adultery okay? I asked. Chad stepped forward, his facade finally cracking. You want to play dirty, small-timer? Fine. Your wife came to me because she was tired of being married to a nobody. She wanted someone who could give her a real career, not just a hobby studio in a converted warehouse. A hobby studio that generated $2 million in revenue last year, I replied. But I'm sure your research covered that when you were planning to steal my business. We didn't steal anything, Rena shouted. Those artists chose to leave. After you gave Chad their contract details, their personal information, and their private complaints about pricing and scheduling, I said, information you got by going through my computer and phone while I was sleeping. The crowd was fully engaged now. I saw Marcus Webb from Rolling Stone taking notes. This story would be everywhere by morning. Chad was losing his composure. You know what, Isaac? You're right. She did help me. Because she believes in what we're building together. Something bigger than your little local operation. Something built on theft and lies. Something built on ambition and vision. Two things you clearly lack. That's when I played my final card. Actually, Chad, let me tell you what I lack. I pulled out a folder I'd been carrying all evening. I lack a criminal record, unlike some people. His face went white. See, when I found out my wife was cheating with a talent agent, I did some research. Turns out Chad Morrison isn't your real name, is it? It's Charles Moreau, and you spent 2 years in county jail for fraud. Something about promising young artists record deals that didn't exist and taking their money for promotional expenses. I held up printed copies of court records, arrest reports, and news articles. Funny thing about public records, they're public. The crowd erupted. People were shouting questions, phones were flashing, and I could see several of Chad's current clients pushing through the crowd with very unhappy expressions. Chad lunged for the papers, but Des appeared out of nowhere and stepped between us. I wouldn't do that, friend, not with all these witnesses. This is harassment, Rena screamed. This is defamation. This is truth, I replied calmly, and it's all documented and verified, unlike your brand partnerships and business plans. Chad was backing toward the exit, but the crowd was too thick. People were shouting questions at him, demanding to know if the allegations were true. Several musicians I recognized were loudly canceling their contracts with his agency. Isaac, please, Rena grabbed my arm. We can work this out. We can fix this. I looked at her, really looked at her, for what I knew would be the last time. Rena, you tried to sell our marriage for $50,000 and steal my business for your boyfriend. There's nothing to fix. I turned to address the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for witnessing this tonight. As of tomorrow, I'll be filing for divorce and pursuing legal action for corporate espionage and theft of proprietary information. Any artists who were approached by Mr. Morrison using information obtained from my studio should contact their lawyers immediately. The crowd parted as I walked toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear Rena crying and Chad trying to explain himself to increasingly hostile musicians and industry executives. Des caught up with me in the parking lot. Holy shit, man, that was beautiful. That was just the opening act, I said. Tomorrow we start the real show. As we drove away, my phone was already buzzing with calls from reporters, lawyers, and clients wanting to know what had really happened. The Austin music scene is small, and word travels fast. By morning, everyone would know the truth about Rena and Chad, but I wasn't done with them yet, not even close. The story exploded overnight. By 7 a.m., there were 3 news vans outside my studio, and my phone had received over 200 calls. The video footage from the mixer was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and every music blog in Texas. Austin producer exposes wife's affair and business theft at industry event was trending on social media. The court records I'd revealed about Chad's criminal past were being shared thousands of times. Several musicians had already posted their own stories about suspicious approaches from his agency. I was drinking coffee in my office when Des arrived with a stack of newspapers and a grin. You're famous, brother. Look at this. He spread out the Austin American Statesman. The headline read, Music Industry Rocked by Cheating and Corporate Espionage Scandal. Any word from Rena or Chad? I asked. Rena's been calling and texting all morning. Chad's gone radio silent, but I heard from Tommy Rodriguez that 3 more artists dropped his agency overnight. Word is he's trying to get back to L.A. before more people start asking questions. And my lawyer called at 9 a.m. Jennifer Walsh had been handling my business contracts for 3 years, and she was practically vibrating with excitement. Isaac, this is the strongest case for corporate espionage I've ever seen. We've got documented evidence of theft, breach of fiduciary duty, and conspiracy. I can have papers filed by noon. What about the divorce? With that recording of her demanding $50,000, she'll be lucky to get anything. Texas is a community property state, but adultery and attempted theft change everything. I was feeling pretty good about things until Kiki called. Isaac, I need to warn you about something. Rena's not taking this well. Like, really not well. She's been posting on Instagram all morning, claiming you set her up and that the evidence is fake. I checked Rena's Instagram account. She'd posted a series of stories with tearful selfies and long captions about being betrayed by someone I trusted. and how I was a manipulative narcissist who recorded private conversations. She was painting herself as the victim. The comments were brutal. Her followers weren't buying it, especially after the news coverage. People were posting screenshots of the text messages I'd read aloud, along with links to Chad's criminal record. But there was something else in her posts that caught my attention. She kept mentioning getting back what's mine and people will see the truth soon. Des, I called out. I think we need to upgrade security around here. Already on it. I've got cameras on all the entrances and Tommy's coming by later to help keep an eye on things. Tommy Rodriguez, no relation to Des, was a session drummer who also worked security for concerts. He was 6'4", covered in tattoos, and had the kind of presence that made troublemakers think twice. At 2 p.m., Rena showed up. She'd clearly been crying, but she'd also clearly been planning. She was dressed down, jeans, t-shirt, minimal makeup, trying to look like the victim instead of the woman who'd been caught cheating and stealing. Isaac, we need to talk, she said, standing in the doorway of my office. I think we said everything we needed to say last night. Please, just give me 5 minutes to explain. Against my better judgment, I let her in. Des positioned himself just outside the door, within earshot. Isaac, I know how this looks, but it's not what you think. It looks like you've been cheating on me for 6 months while stealing my business information to give to your boyfriend so he could poach my clients. What part am I misunderstanding? She sat down across from my desk, trying to look small and vulnerable. The thing with Chad, it just happened. I never meant for it to go this far, and I never gave him any information about your clients. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through the screenshots I'd prepared. Rena, I have your text messages. You literally sent him a spreadsheet with client contact information. That was just to help with some crossover opportunities. I thought it might benefit everyone. Crossover opportunities? You mean stealing my clients? I mean expanding the market. Isaac, you're so focused on keeping everything small and local. Chad has connections that could take these artists national, international even. I was trying to help. I stared at her. You were trying to help by cheating on me and secretly working with a convicted felon to destroy my business? Chad's not a felon. Those charges were dismissed. The charges were reduced to misdemeanors in a plea deal. He still served time. She was getting frustrated, her victim act starting to slip. Fine, maybe he made some mistakes in the past. But he's changed. We have real plans, Isaac. Big plans. Plans that could make us all rich. Us? There is no us anymore, Rena. There could be. She leaned forward, trying to look seductive. Isaac, forget about last night. Forget about the divorce papers. We can work together on this. Chad's got backing from some major investors in L.A. We could expand your studio, take on bigger clients, maybe even get into film scoring. Using stolen client information as our foundation? Using smart business practices to grow beyond this little local scene you're so attached to. I realized she genuinely didn't understand what she'd done wrong. In her mind, cheating and stealing were just smart business practices. Rena, get out. Isaac, please, get out now, or I'm calling the police. She stood up, and for a moment I saw the real Rena underneath the act, her face twisted with anger and frustration. You're making a mistake, Isaac. You think you've won something, but you have no idea what you've started. Chad has friends, connections, people who don't like being embarrassed. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. You humiliated him in front of the entire Austin music scene. You think there won't be consequences? The only consequences I'm worried about are the legal ones, for both of you. She headed for the door, then turned back. You know what your problem is, Isaac? You think small. You always have. That's why I outgrew you. And that's why you'll always be a small-time influencer dating criminals and calling it ambition. After she left, Des came into the office. You get all that? I held up my phone, which had been recording the entire conversation. Every word. She's planning something. Yeah, I got that impression too. What do you think? I think we need to be ready for whatever comes next. What came next was Chad. He showed up at 6 p.m. just as we were closing up. Unlike Rena's victim act, Chad came in swinging. You son of a jerk, he said, barging through the front door. You think you can destroy my reputation and just walk away? Tommy was there within seconds, stepping between Chad and me. Easy there, Slick. This is a private business. I'm not here to cause trouble, Chad said, though his clenched fist suggested otherwise. I just want to talk to Isaac, man to man. Talk, I said, staying behind Tommy's considerable bulk. You've cost me everything. 3 years building that agency, dozens of clients, millions in potential revenue. All gone because you couldn't handle your wife upgrading. I cost you everything? You stole my clients using information you got through corporate espionage and adultery. I provided better opportunities for artists who were being held back by your small-time operation. Using my proprietary client information. Using publicly available contact information and standard industry practices. I laughed. Standard industry practices? Is that what they called it when you were convicted of fraud in California? His face darkened. That was a misunderstanding. The charges were reduced. Because you took a plea deal to avoid serious prison time. You don't know what you're talking about. I know you spent 2 years in county jail for promising record deals that didn't exist and stealing money from young musicians. I know you changed your name from Charles Moreau to Chad Morrison when you got out. And I know you've been running the same scam here in Texas. Tommy stepped forward. I think this conversation is over. Chad looked around the studio, at the expensive equipment, the gold records on the walls, the obvious success of the operation. You think this is over? You have no idea who you're dealing with. I'm dealing with a 2-bit con artist who got caught stealing from me. You're dealing with someone who has nothing left to lose, thanks to you. Thanks to me? You did this to yourself when you decided to steal my business and sleep with my wife. He started toward the door, then turned back. This isn't finished, Isaac. Not even close. After he left, Tommy locked the door and checked all the windows. That guy's trouble, he said. The kind of trouble that doesn't go away quietly. What do you think he'll do? Nothing smart, that's for sure. Guys like that, when they get cornered, they do something stupid and desperate. I spent that evening at home, going through everything I owned that belonged to Rena. Clothes, jewelry, books, the expensive camera equipment I'd bought for her Instagram career. I packed it all into boxes and put them by the front door. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Enjoy your victory lap while it lasts. See, I forwarded the message to my lawyer and the police, then poured myself a drink and tried to figure out what Chad and Rena might do next. I didn't have to wait long to find out. I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of breaking glass. Someone had thrown a brick through my living room window. Attached to it was a note. Drop the charges or this gets worse. I called the police, who arrived 20 minutes later and took a report. The responding officer, Detective Sarah Martinez, was professional but not optimistic. Without witnesses or security footage, there's not much we can do except document it, she said. But given the threats you've been receiving, I'd recommend staying somewhere else for a few days. I called Dez, who picked me up and let me crash on his couch. His apartment was in a secure building with cameras and a doorman, and I felt safer there than in my exposed downtown condo. The next morning brought more bad news. Someone had spray-painted liar and fraud across the front of my studio building. The security cameras had been covered with black paint, so there was no footage of who did it. This is escalating fast, Dez said as we scrubbed graffiti off the brick wall. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I was right. Over the next 3 days, I received dozens of threatening phone calls from blocked numbers. Someone slashed my tires twice. My business website was hacked and replaced with a page claiming I was under investigation for tax fraud. Fake reviews appeared on every platform, claiming I'd stolen money from clients and that my studio was a front for illegal activities. But the worst part was watching it work. 2 clients called to cancel their contracts, spooked by the fake reviews and online rumors. A scheduled recording session was postponed indefinitely. A music journalist who'd been planning to interview me about the industry mixer scandal suddenly stopped returning my calls. Chad and Rena were waging a systematic campaign to destroy my reputation and my business. And they were doing it smart. Nothing that could be directly traced back to them, nothing that rose to the level of serious criminal charges. We need to hit back, Dez said on Thursday morning as we dealt with another round of fake negative reviews. How? Everything they're doing is anonymous and deniable. Then we stop playing defense and go on offense. That's when Jennifer, my lawyer, called with interesting news. Isaac, I've been digging into Chad's background, and there's something you need to know. The agency he's been running, it's not licensed in Texas. He's been operating illegally for 3 years. What does that mean? It means every contract he's signed, every commission he's collected, every business transaction he's made has been fraudulent. We're not just talking about corporate espionage anymore. We're talking about major felony charges. Can we prove it? I've already contacted the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. They're opening an investigation. But here's the beautiful part. If he's been operating without a license, then every artist he's represented has grounds to sue him for fraud. We're talking about potentially millions in damages. I felt the first genuine smile I'd had in days. How long before this becomes public? The state moves fast on unlicensed talent agencies. I'd guess 48 hours before they issue a cease and desist order. After that, it's all public record. And Rena. As his business partner and co-conspirator in the theft of your client information, she's potentially liable for everything he's done. Community property works both ways. If she's married to you while committing crimes with him, you could actually sue her for damages to your business. Things were looking up until I got home to Dez's apartment and found Rena waiting in the lobby. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her makeup was smeared, and she was wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in 2 days earlier. The confident influencer was gone, replaced by someone who looked desperate and possibly unhinged. "Isaac, thank God. We need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about, and you're not supposed to be here. Please, just 5 minutes. It's important." Against my better judgment, I let her come upstairs. Dez was at the studio, so we were alone. "Isaac, you have to call off your lawyer." "I have to what now?" "The investigation, the charges, all of it. You're destroying innocent people." "Innocent people?" "Rena, you cheated on me and stole my business information. Chad is a convicted felon who's been operating an illegal talent agency. What part of that is innocent?" She started crying, but it felt performative, like she was trying to manipulate me one more time. "Chad's not a bad person. He made some mistakes when he was younger, but he's changed. And what we did, it wasn't meant to hurt you. We were trying to build something bigger, something that could benefit everyone. By stealing from me. By expanding the market. Isaac, you're so stubborn about keeping everything small and local. We were trying to help these artists reach their potential. Using my client list and my proprietary information. Using connections and opportunities that you were too scared to pursue yourself. There it was. The real Rena. The one who thought she was smarter than everyone else. You know what, Rena? You're right. I am small and local. I like building relationships with artists, helping them develop their sound, being part of a community. I'm not interested in getting rich by screwing people over. And that's why you'll never be anything more than a small-time studio owner in Austin, Texas. And that's why you'll never be anything more than a small-time influencer who dates criminals and calls it networking. She wiped her eyes and tried a different approach. Isaac, what if we could work something out? What if Chad and I disappeared, moved back to LA, and you dropped the charges? We could just start over, all of us. Start over? Rena, you tried to steal my business and destroy my marriage. There's no starting over from that. There could be, if you wanted there to be. She moved closer, trying to look seductive despite her disheveled appearance. Isaac, we had something good once. We could have it again. Better even. Chad's got connections in LA that could take your studio national. We could all win. I stared at her. Are you seriously trying to seduce me into dropping charges against your boyfriend? I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone. The solution that works for everyone is you and Chad facing the consequences of your actions. Her expression hardened. Fine. But you should know that Chad's not going down alone. If you destroy him, he's going to take everyone with him, including you. What's that supposed to mean? It means he's got information about your business practices that might interest the IRS. It means some of your clients might have interesting stories to tell about how you operate. It means this could get very messy for everyone involved. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Chad's desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. If you push him too far, he's going to push back in ways you won't like. Let him push. I've got nothing to hide. Everyone has something to hide, Isaac. Everyone. After she left, I called Jennifer and played her the recording. That's witness intimidation and conspiracy to commit blackmail, she said immediately. I'm filing a restraining order first thing tomorrow morning. What about Chad's threats to go after my business? Let him try. I've been through your books, your contracts, your tax returns. You're cleaner than a whistle. If he wants to make false accusations, he can add perjury and filing false reports to his list of charges. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Rena's warning that Chad was desperate and might do something stupid. Desperate people were unpredictable, and unpredictable people were dangerous. I was right to be worried. The next morning, I arrived at the studio to find the front door standing open and the security system disabled. Someone had broken in during the night. At first glance, nothing seemed to be missing. The expensive equipment was all there, the instruments were untouched, even the petty cash was still in the desk drawer. But then I noticed something else. My computer was on, and there were files open that I hadn't been working on. Someone had been going through my business records, my client files, my personal documents. They were looking for something, Des said, examining the scene, or planting something. I called the police and my lawyer. Detective Martinez arrived within an hour and dusted for fingerprints, but whoever had done this had been careful. No prints, no obvious evidence, no witnesses. "What do you think they were after?" she asked. "I think they were trying to find something they could use against me, or maybe planting evidence to support false accusations." "Any idea who might have done this?" I told her about Chad's threats and Rena's warning about him getting desperate. She took notes and promised to follow up, but I could tell she didn't expect to solve it. After the police left, I spent the rest of the day going through every file on my computer, looking for anything that had been changed or added. I didn't find anything obvious, but that didn't mean nothing had been done. "We need to end this," Des said as we were closing up that evening. "How?" "By finishing what we started. No more defense, no more reacting to their moves. It's time to destroy them completely." He was right. Chad and Rena had declared war on me, and I'd been trying to fight it through lawyers and police reports. But they were operating outside the law, using tactics that couldn't be countered with legal procedures. It was time to fight fire with fire. "What did you have in mind?" I asked. Des smiled. "I've been thinking about that, and I've got some ideas." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Give Chad and Rena exactly what they'd been giving me, but do it better, smarter, and with the full weight of the truth behind it. Jennifer had come through with the state investigation. Chad's talent agency license application had been denied 3 years ago due to his criminal background, but he'd been operating anyway. The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation issued a cease and desist order on Friday morning, along with a press release that made front-page news in the entertainment section. "Unlicensed talent agent shut down by state regulators" was trending on social media by noon. The article included details about Chad's criminal history, his illegal business operations, and the ongoing investigation into corporate espionage charges. But that was just the opening act. Des had spent the week reaching out to every musician, producer, and industry professional in Austin. The music scene here is tight-knit, and word travels fast. By Friday afternoon, everyone knew the full story about Chad and Rena's scheme. More importantly, they were angry about it. Musicians hate being manipulated and lied to. The idea that someone had been using stolen information to poach artists and make false promises about record deals had the entire community up in arms. 3 more artists filed complaints with the state attorney general's office. 2 music blogs published detailed exposés about Chad's criminal history and illegal business practices. A local TV station ran a segment about the dangers of unlicensed talent agents. Chad's reputation was being systematically destroyed, and this time it was all true, all documented, and all legal. But Rena was a different problem. She hadn't broken any state licensing laws, and her role in the corporate espionage was harder to prove in court. She needed a more personal touch. That's where Kiki came in. "I've been documenting everything," she told me over coffee on Saturday morning. Screenshots of her private messages, recordings of phone calls where she talks about the plan to steal your clients, even video of her and Chad together at his apartment. Why? Because I've been watching my best friend turn into someone I don't recognize, and I finally decided to do something about it. Kiki had been Rena's closest friend since college, which meant she knew all of Rena's secrets. The fake sponsorship deals she'd been posting about, the followers she'd bought to inflate her numbers, the lies she'd told about her background and her relationship with me. "She's been living a completely fabricated life on social media," Kiki explained. "Half her followers are bots, most of her brand partnerships are fake, and she's been using your money to fund the lifestyle she posts about while claiming to be an independent businesswoman." "Can you prove all that?" "I can prove all of it. Screenshots, bank records, email conversations, everything. The question is, what do you want to do with it?" What I wanted was justice. Not revenge, not cruelty, just the truth coming to light in a way that had consequences. "Post it," I said. "All of it. Let people see who she really is." Kiki had been building a comprehensive exposé for weeks. She'd created a detailed blog post with screenshots, documents, and evidence showing the real Rena behind the Instagram facade. The fake followers, the fabricated sponsorships, the lies about her income and independence, and most damaging of all, the text messages showing her planning to steal my business and leave me for Chad. She published it on Sunday morning with the title, "The Influencer Who Influenced No One, a Former Friend's Tell-All." The post went viral within hours. Rena's carefully constructed image crumbled in real time. Her followers started dropping by the thousands as people realized how much of her content was fake. Brands began distancing themselves from her. Other influencers who'd been jealous of her success started sharing their own stories about her lies and manipulations. But the most devastating part was the comment section. Hundreds of people sharing their own experiences with fake influencers, talking about how damaging this kind of deception was to young people who looked up to social media personalities. Rena tried to fight back, posting tearful videos claiming she was being bullied and harassed. But the evidence was overwhelming, and her credibility was gone. By Monday morning, she'd lost over half her followers and every major brand partnership she'd been working on. Chad, meanwhile, was dealing with his own problems. The state investigation had triggered a federal inquiry into his business practices. The FBI was now looking into potential wire fraud charges related to his unlicensed talent agency operations. Several of his former clients had filed civil lawsuits seeking damages for fraudulent representation. His LA backers had pulled their funding and were reportedly considering their own legal action. But the most satisfying development came Tuesday afternoon when Detective Martinez called with an update. "We got him," she said. Chad Morrison, a.k.a. Charles Moreau, was arrested this morning on charges of burglary, criminal mischief, and violation of a restraining order. "You found evidence he broke into my studio?" "Better than that. We caught him in the act. He was trying to break into your condo last night when building security spotted him. When we searched him, he had lockpicks, a crowbar, and a USB drive full of malware designed to destroy computer files." The pieces fell into place. Chad had been escalating his harassment campaign, planning to plant evidence or destroy files that could be used against him in court, but his desperation had made him sloppy, and now he was facing serious felony charges. "What about Rena?" "She's been questioned as a potential accomplice, but so far we don't have evidence she was directly involved in the break-in attempt. However, the district attorney is reviewing the corporate espionage charges, and that's still moving forward." Wednesday brought the final piece of the puzzle. Jennifer called with news about the civil lawsuit. Chad's assets have been frozen pending the criminal trial, but here's the interesting part. He's broke. The LA agency was all smoke and mirrors. He's been living on credit and fake investor money for months. What does that mean for getting damages? It means he can't pay what he owes, but Rena can. As his business partner in the theft of your client information, she's jointly liable for all damages to your business. And since she's still technically your wife, her assets are community property. The irony was perfect. Rena had demanded $50,000 to marry me, and now she was going to lose everything because she was married to me. How much are we talking about? Based on the clients you lost, the damage to your reputation, and the costs of dealing with this mess, I'd estimate around $200,000 in actual damages, plus punitive damages that could double that. And she'll have to pay it? Every penny. Her Instagram income, her savings, her car, her jewelry, everything. She'll be starting over from nothing. Thursday morning, I was in my office when Rena showed up for the last time. She looked broken. No makeup, unwashed hair, wearing clothes that looked like she'd slept in them. "Isaac, please, I'm begging you. Call off the lawsuit." "Why would I do that?" "Because I'm sorry. Because I made a mistake. Because we used to love each other. We used to love each other before you cheated on me and tried to steal my business. I know I screwed up. But please don't destroy my life over this." I looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment I felt something like pity. Then I remembered the text messages, the stolen client information, the threats, the break-ins, and the months of lies. "Rena, you destroyed your own life. I'm just making sure there are consequences for it. I'll lose everything. You should have thought about that before you decided to take everything from me." She started crying, but it was different this time. Not manipulative or performative, just genuine despair at finally facing the reality of what she'd done. What am I supposed to do now? I don't know, and I don't care. That's not my problem anymore. "Isaac, please, get out, Rena. We're done." After she left, Des came into the office with a bottle of champagne. "Is it over?" he asked. "It's over." We opened the bottle and toasted to justice, to friendship, and to the satisfaction of watching the truth finally come to light. Friday brought the final headlines. Talent agent sentenced to 5 years for fraud and burglary, and influencer loses everything in corporate espionage lawsuit. Chad was going to prison. Rena was going to bankruptcy court. And I was going back to doing what I loved, making music with honest artists who understood the value of integrity and hard work. The Austin music scene had rallied around me in a way that was both humbling and inspiring. New clients were calling every day. Musicians who'd never worked with me before were reaching out. The industry mixer scandal had actually increased my reputation rather than destroying it. But the best part was the quiet satisfaction of knowing that justice had been served, not through revenge or cruelty, but through the simple power of truth and consequences. Chad and Rena had tried to destroy me using lies, theft, and manipulation. In the end, they'd destroyed themselves by underestimating the power of honesty and the loyalty of a community that values integrity over profit. As I sat in my studio that Friday evening, listening to a new band lay down tracks for their debut album, I realized that this whole experience had taught me something important. The truth doesn't need to be defended or avenged. It just needs to be revealed. And sometimes that's the most devastating weapon of all.